Hello, this is Colin Greatwood, Application Engineer at LMI Technologies, and today I'll be showing you how to use the newly updated EDS file revision 2.0 with the newly updated Allen Bradley Studio 5000 job file for use with a Gocator sensor. The first thing you'll need to do is configure the Gocator, and you can see I've already pulled up a Gocator sensor at the default IP address 192.168.1.10. The rest of this example does assume that your PLC and your setup PC or laptop are on the same subnet as the Gocator. For example, my PLC for today is set up at IP address 192.168.1.89, and my PC for setup is also on the same subnet. So if you do have your subnet set up properly, then you can go to your Gocator at the default IP, go to the output page, and select the Ethernet IP protocol from the drop-down box. Once you have that selected from the protocol drop-down, you'll need to decide if you're using implicit or explicit messaging. So I'll show implicit messaging to get things started. The byte order for the PLC controller that I'm using is Little Endian, and for implicit messaging, usually you want to use force cyclic. There are samples where you may want to use force change of state. You should call your LMI sales rep or technical rep for assistance with that. Now I'm going to save the job file, so these settings are saved. So our Gocator is all set up. Now we're going to go set up the PLC. So first thing, I'll launch Studio 5000. The version I'm using here today for this setup and for revision 2's development was version 21. This new version should be supported through the current version 32. You'll want to make sure that RS Links is also launched in the background. Not every PC starts RS Links by default. Click any of the acknowledgments that are required to launch this. Then once RS Links opens, press RS Who, and you'll get an updated subnet here. This ABETH IP is the adapter on my controller, and you can see there's my L16ER controller right there at IP address 192.168.1.89, just as we planned. So I'll minimize that RS Links. It does need to stay open to continue running. This will help us set the project path for the project once we've loaded it. Next thing I'll do is open the sample job file provided from LMI. Click the File menu and then Open. You'll have to unzip the download from LMI, but within it you should find a .acd sample job file called Gocator _ Ethernet IP. Select that and open the project. Once the project's opened, you'll need to set the file path for that project. Click the Who Active next to the path. Expand the controller's adapter, and you'll see again, just like in the RS Links Classic, you'll see the adapter for the controller. If your Go Online button goes from gray to black, just as you saw here, then you can connect to the controller, which is good. So we're going to go online with this controller. You may already have a job file loaded, and that's fine, but we're going to download to the controller, assuming that we want to override the current job that's loaded. This is not always advised, so please be careful if you're going to do this. We'll acknowledge it one more time, and this will start to download the sample job file to the controller. Once it's done, this will put the controller in remote program, and it's going to ask you if you want to put the controller in remote run. So you can say yes or no to this. I'll say yes today. The last thing you'll need to do to use the new EDS file is install that with your EDS file library. Go to the Tools menu, scroll down to EDS Hardware Installation Tool. Acknowledge any pop-ups that appear on your screen. Once the EDS wizard opens, acknowledge the main screen by pressing Next. If you do have any other Gocators that are connected to this PLC or this network that use the original EDS file version 1.0, that's totally fine, and you can leave that EDS file connected. The versioning allows for multiple versions. So we're just going to register the updated version by clicking Register an EDS file and Next. Then you're going to register a single file. Click Browse. You should have unzipped the download from LMI, and within that download, in addition to the .acd file we've already loaded, you'll have a .eds file. Select it and press Open. Once the file path name updates, press Next. It'll do a quick check to make sure that the EDS file is valid. Press Next. It will try to auto-source the Gocator image. This icon can help people who are troubleshooting your system later find out where the Gocator information or data blocks are in your controller organizer on the left-hand side of this screen. So if this image doesn't auto-import, you can press Change Icon and search for the .ico file that's included with our LMI download. So if it does auto-populate like it has for me, press Next. One final check, and then you will have successfully imported the new EDS file. Select Finish. So now that we've added the new EDS file to our library, and we've loaded and downloaded our sample job file, you'll notice that you no longer have to use any user-defined data types. Your inputs and outputs for the Gocator will already pre-populate into the data types section of the controller organizer. If you expand the inputs, and this is the information coming from the Gocator to the PLC, you'll notice that all of the members are actually named. This is an improvement from the previous version of the EDS file. So all of the information is not only named, but of the proper data type, except for 64-bit values. Studio 5000 versions 31 and older will not support 64-bit values outside of the copy function. Version 32 and newer will support 64-bit values in specific function blocks, so you should pay attention to that. This will affect pieces of data like our encoder position, which you can see gets split up into two DINT values, our encoder index position, time, and the current frame. The other improvement that was made to the sample job file is if you expand the main program and look at the main routine, the main task, you'll notice you have subroutines titled implicit messaging and explicit messaging that show you how to use all of the commands available to you via the output assembly. It'll also detail a few examples of how to use measurement results and data, so I encourage you to check those out.